Booker.
Hi, Miss Freeman.
So we are here again, just to have some conversation about your lessons and how you interact with your students in your classroom. So how have things been going so far?
For the most part, they are engaged. The hardest thing now is just getting them to do, like, to raise their hand and know, like, even though it's digital, they still have rules. But other than that,
Yeah, I bet it feels like just talking, and so they just want to talk. But that's a good
right,
thing. We can use that to our advantage because as we start talking about where we're working towards, that actually ties into what you wanted for your goal. So
right,
last time we met, you said you wanted to increase student engagement, and the particular engagement that you wanted was more student talk, and that the students would have a higher level of thinking, and it would be expressed in the way that they shared what their answers were.
right. So,
Okay.
and I will say, I have noticed that the babies who were typically quiet in the general setting are the ones that are more talkative now, um, in the remote setting.
So the SMPs that really fit with what you wanted to do were number 2 and number 4: reason abstractly and quantitatively, and also construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. Um, do you
Okay.
have one that you want to focus on more? Which one do you think most fits what you would like to do?
Um, Probably number three.
Number 3. Okay.
Yeah, because
So
they're
mhm.
because it's allowing them to actually, that it goes back into that um part where they're actually explaining their thinking more so than just giving an answer, but they're able to defend it as well.
Okay. All right. And I actually like this. The last time we talked, we also talked about not reinventing the wheel and using
Right.
some things that we already had in place. So that's exactly what I did. I think that the only thing that we might want to do is go through and figure out how we can put it in student friendly language, because
Right.
one thing that you talked about was the student ownership. The first one says, use, I'm sorry, question others. And we want this checklist to be, short and sweet. So, I mean, there are 7 here. I'll give you a chance to look at it. And you could tell me if there are just a few that you want to pick out, because we don't want to overwhelm the kids.
Okay, so I guess the first one where it says question others,
Okay.
um, we could we possibly change it to restate for clarity? Um, because that's something that we do in our math talks, like
Mhm.
restating when um and so putting that word in there would actually allow them, it's familiar vocabulary, so I think that would kind of spark their mind and open them up to actually understanding what it is we want them to do
Okay.
when
So
we
they should,
speak on
and
the
you
question.
all are, I'm sorry. So is it that you want them to restate their own thinking for clarity, or restate what someone else has
What
said?
someone else has said.
Okay. So we might say, restate your classmates' thinking.
Yes.
Okay. And there's no perfect way, because we're literally coming up with this on our own. So restate your classmates' thinking, and you want that part about clarity in there.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What's another one that you want to,
Um,
you know,
Support beliefs and challenges with mathematical evidence.
definitely? Okay. So what kind of changes do we need to make for the wording?
Um, I guess we could keep it simple and say, show your strategy.
Okay. Show your strategy. And I think it might even be meaningful to add and explain your thinking.
And explain. Yes.
Hmm. Show your strategy and explain your thinking. All right, we'll try to keep it maybe to about 4. Do you think that's enough or
That
less?
works.
Okay.
I like to listen and respond to others well,
Mm-hmm.
and then use precise mathematical vocabulary. So I guess we could change that to the last one where it says use precise mathematical vocabulary. Maybe it could say use the correct math vocabulary. So whereas they would say, so for example, if they had a problem that said the problem was 7 minus 3. Instead of saying 7 minus 3, they might say just 7 take away. But we want to get them used to using those words like minus, and
So do you all refer to them as vocabulary in your class?
more. I may not say, we just say math terms. That's how we do it.
Okay, so use math terms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so use math terms. And you also mentioned the one right above it, listen and respond to others. Do you want to keep
Yes.
that one the way it is?
So yes,
And I think that also goes with I think it was the first one, restate
the
your
first
class
one,
clarity.
right, with
Yeah,
that accountable talk piece.
right. Because you can't do any of these things if you're not even, paying attention.
Right.
Respond to others well. Now, with that respond to others well, what does that look like? Do we need to add maybe something else? It might not be another indicator, but just for you on your teacher side, when you start to say respond to others well, just begin to think about what well means. It's just like when we say to kids, respect each other. We literally have to say, what does respect look
What does that look like? Right.
like? So, what about responding to others well?
Um, are you asking me to, would there be the proper change to make for that one, or are you saying, well, how could we change that?
I'm not asking you to change it at all. I'm really thinking ahead because you already can imagine that you're going to have to explain it. And so
Right.
when we get in front of the children, we want to already have some idea of exactly what that
Of
means.
what will means.
Right.
Okay.
So they'll say yours will be listen and respond to others well. And as
Mm-hmm.
part of your explanation, for example, this, and this.
Okay, so it would be, of course, respecting their answers, as in not saying, "Oh no, you're wrong," but
Okay.
maybe using those number talk words like agree and disagree. I disagree with your answer because, or I
Mhm.
agree because.
Yep. What about like staying on topic? Because we always get
Yeah,
those answers that
yeah.
come out of nowhere. Okay, and I think for first graders, those two examples would be good. Do you have anything that you might want to add? Anything else?
No, I think that's it for this.
Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna come on back to you. So obviously the part of this section is for me to model us to do some peer observation, and that's gonna look new, and we'll have to just do our very best. What time do you teach your class?
10 to 11, Monday through Thursday,
10 to 11.
and
Okay.
I typically start math around 10:30.
Okay. I think that's a good time. You keep it to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially at this level. And
Right.
it's a new structure.
Right.
All right. And that actually works out because I have a math class from 9 to 10. And then what I normally do is pop into some of my other rooms. So it will be very easy for me to just, instead of going into my second grade class or my first grade class, I could easily pop into your class.
Okay.
That'll give me a good opportunity to see our new student that we have. Has he been logging on?
Um, he has, but not consistently.
Okay, got
Yes.
it. So that I think that hopefully some additional contact might
Yeah.
help.
And I mean, it's mainly because of the mom's work schedule.
Hmm. And I'm also making my classroom available since you don't start until 10.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to pop in. I could add you to my list of invitees, and you can
Okay.
pop in any day because even though it's two different grade levels, that the S&Ps follow everybody. Those
Everybody. Right.
indicators are something that everyone has to do.
Okay.
Um, let's see. And I know we kind of went over this quickly, but when do you think you might begin to do this in your classroom, in your remote classroom?
Maybe as early as next week.
Okay.
Um, I just need to look at it a little more, but possibly as early as next week.
Okay. Now, one thing I do want to touch on, since we are in this unique setting, um, and we have all of these pieces of technology, one thing I love about what you have going on is that you're already using technology.
Mm-hmm.
You're already doing certain things in your classroom. So, what are some of the things that you already use? I know you talked about having students airdrop their
Mm-hmm.
answers to you.
So I was doing that in the class, but with the
Mhm.
remote learning, now I'm either doing, of course, they can, when I'm inside of Google Meet, they can type their responses, or I'm having them to, we're doing a lot of, on like they can interact with a lot of the work that they have, they can actually write on it inside of their apps. So like Google
Mhm.
Classroom and things like that. But if we're actually in a meeting, I kind of had to go back to the traditional way. Like I'm doing all of the technology. They're not really working with it outside of like we did a Kahoot yesterday.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So we're trying to find more ways to allow the student interaction during the actual live versus it being solely teacher led.
And I bet that having just those 30 minutes almost works against you because
Right,
we all already know how long it takes first graders to get their thinking out.
right.
And then you still have to ask questions. So this actually might be helpful to you. And I know since you already have that affinity for technology, it wouldn't be hard for you to jump on in. Are you familiar with Flipgrid?
Yes,
Have you used that in your classroom already?
yes.
Oh, perfect. So I like that idea because what you just said about time, students,
Mm-hmm.
they only have 30 minutes. This is, you might give them a problem and then they can take their own time and create a video. And
Right.
that way they could do all of that thinking and explaining that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And Flipgrid has the whiteboard where they can actually
What
write
I can
something as
write.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we talked about on our checklist is actually there, except for restating your classmates. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it is in the comment feature of Flipgrid.
Right, right.
Absolutely. So Flipgrid is perfect. They get to restate, um, they even can show their strategy. We talked about that, explain their thinking. They'll use the mathematical terms. Um, and when they reply to others, that's when they'll be listening well and staying on
Right.
top. And I also threw in here Padlet, and I know you're familiar with Padlet as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that could also be an option. So, just what are your thoughts overall?
Um, I think this checklist will, like I said, it will help not only me, but once the kids see it, they can own it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just something that I'm doing, but it'll make them actually think, um, well, did I do this? And they can kind of track their own thought process.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I love where it's going. As a matter of fact, um, like I said, the way you already have a
Mm-hmm.
certain skill set makes it a lot easier. Yep. All right. So we can get together. I'll email you my link, and you just let me know. Uh,
Okay.
you'll be visiting, and then I can coordinate with you and come in and pop in and talk a little bit to your students as well and model this
Okay.
strategy for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And listen, good luck. Hang in there. We're going to what, the 24th now?
Yes.
Arr. All right. I'm sure you'll be just fine. Thank you so much, Ms. Bakar.
No problem.